Welcome to the Bulls Guys podcast. I'm your host, Kenyatta Wright, and welcoming back my co-host who was out sick. Mr. Greg Love is back, Bulls fans.
What's going on?
Feeling better, buddy, man. We missed you last show, man. Good to have you back.
I appreciate it, man. Went over to Memphis, saw what happened there, just got sick. Uh, carried it back.
Yeah, you gotta watch them travels, man. But nah, the Bulls lose and drop one tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks, and it was a tough one for me. I was clapping my thighs and so angry, man. And we'll talk about the game, and I'll voice my frustrations and we'll vent. And we're also going to talk about Lonzo Ball's injury. We're going to do some trade scenarios, also with Greg's time machine, and we're going to do all of that right after this break, folks. How do you feel about the Bulls? How would you like to be on our show, the Bulls Guys podcast, and give your thoughts on the team? Send us your emails at talkingbulls82@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to have you on. You want the most uncensored and unbiased podcast? The Bulls Guys podcast. There's only Kenyatta Wright and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, YouTube, and all social media platforms. We can use your support. All right, back on the Bulls Guys podcast. So, Greg, tough one tonight. The Bulls drop one to the Milwaukee Bucks. What was the final score in that game? They lost by 4, right? 94-90?
94-90. Yep.
And I just don't know where to start, man. All I can say is that it was a terrible shooting game for us. Yes. I felt like Kobe did not show up. 0 for 9. I didn't get any shots from Ayo. Didn't get any big plays from Ayo. Yeah. Caruso, surprisingly, the vet, he was making a lot of mistakes in this game. Yeah. I just felt like the Bulls just had that jitters. I feel like when they play TV games, they just have that jitters, man. Because I've just seen them hit all of these shots against Cleveland. So what's the difference? Milwaukee left you wide open. They weren't defending these shooters. They were just missing wide open jumpers. And I'm like, yo. Then Caruso went to the line to get a 4-point play off of a flagrant, and he missed both free throws. The Bulls got to show up in these kind of games, man. They got to come to play, and they got to come mentally prepared. It's starting to get to a point where I'm feeling like they're not mentally tough. This game was too close to make the kind of mistakes we were making. There was one play where Ayo DeSumo, it was a fast break play, and Ayo DeSumo just threw the ball out of bounds. And instead of us getting a fast break play, we had a turnover. And then right after that, Giannis came back and hit a shot. Then it was a rebound where Giannis missed a free throw, and we didn't get the rebound, and Giannis got the ball back and hit a two. Huh?
I said Drew Holiday got the board. He missed it. He missed the free throw short. And Drew Holiday scooped it up real quick.
But Giannis came back with the 2-point, I think, after that and scored. So instead of us just giving them 1 point in that possession, we gave them 3. It's like, yo, these plays add up. And Billy Donovan was talking about this the other day in a press conference that these little mistakes that we make that cost us points, we got to stop doing that. And I seen it very glaringly in this game, Greg.
Yeah. Just horrible shooting night all around. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, Kobe's 0 for 9 from 3-point range, 3 for 15 for the game. Ayo 2 for 9 for the game, 1 of 5 from 3-point. I know we're gonna get into Ayo a little bit later. But he was passing up open shots. And for a spell, him and Kobe were passing up open threes. I think their confidence had become shot at a point, and, they just didn't want to take it. They do the thing when the ball swung to them, they have enough room to get the space, and they'll pump fake and then, start driving to the hole, and then the defense immediately collapses, and they got to kick it out. So that happened a few different times, especially the deeper it got into the fourth quarter. Now, with all of that said, the Bulls got demolished in points in the paint.
42-20.
Yeah, just demolished. I took a couple things away from it, and I guess this is just me being an optimist,
But
right?
before you say anything, Greg, I know I came off kind of harsh to start the show on the Bulls, but this game was close.
Yeah,
And I don't know what these ESPN analysts are drinking because I had them this game instead of Stacey King and listening to every single thing they were saying in this game. The Bulls, well, let me go to the rebounding. It was 49 to 53. And a couple of times when we got the rebound and out hustled the Bucks, they called the foul. And I'm like, since when is it a foul when you fight for possession of the ball? It's a free ball. It's no fouls here. Whoever gets to the ball is going to get the rebound. You don't call a foul because we beat them out for the rebound. So there was a lot of calls in this game that I didn't appreciate. And for them to try to say that we were undersized and we're undermatched. Milwaukee never led more than 7 points in the entire game. This was a close game from the start to the finish. Where were we undermatched? I thought it was a pretty close game.
Yeah. I know that Jeff Van Gundy was harping on the point that they were undersized, I guess, in comparison to Milwaukee, right? Like, and I get it.
But the undersized doesn't matter, Greg, if they're fighting and the game is close.
Yeah, no, I don't think it really mattered as a factor, right? Like, I think he was trying to make a point of, when you have Io guarding Chris Middleton, well, clearly Chris Middleton's taller, right? Yeah, like I get that matchup wise, like, yes, if you just were to look at their height, yes, the Bulls are undersized. Like you said, didn't matter at all, right? Like they lost 94 to 90. And I will add this caveat. They lost 94 to 90 without Zach. Right. Like I think that is a huge difference, right? Like without Zach, without Derrick Jones, without Javante, right? Like without a lot of their team, right?
But the fact that I still think this game was winnable, though, Greg. That's the part that. No, I know what you're saying, but the part that's getting me is that despite who was out, this game was winnable. Yes. And then the Heat lost tonight, and you failed to make ground on the Heat because the Heat is right behind us in the standings.
Yeah,
and they lost tonight, 108 to 110 to the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
So you failed to make ground on them, and I like to surprisingly, you guys at home, Bulls fans, is going to be a rare one. I actually like the way Vooch played in this game.
It is a little surprising. I'll give you that. but, there was one play where late in the game, I think it was maybe about 2 minutes, a little bit less than 2 minutes, where Vooch had Giannis on the block. And he went at him. And, like, that's what I want. Like, that is the Vooch that I want to see. That's what I've been talking about when being aggressive. Like, he went at him, hit him with a spin move, and got an easy layup off of it, right? Like, that's all I've wanted for Vooch this entire time. Like, I get it, at a time, like, his confidence, you could tell his confidence was shot, right? Like, I get it. Shots just wasn't falling. But, like, I like that aggressive Vooch that I'm going to just play bully ball, right? Like pretty much how Giannis plays bully ball. Like I like that bully ball Vooch because if you are put in a position where you have to double team Vooch, just think how much that opens up everything for everybody else, right? Like if Vooch is going at you, like I know he's pretty much a walking double anyway, right? But like I talked about his points being impactful, right? Like if he's going at it, I'm like even having like finished with 16 points. 19 points, right? Even going if those 19 points, right? Like he's going at Giannis, maybe you get him in foul trouble, right? Like early or something like that. Maybe, like I said, if you have to cause them to double team you, now you're coming off of somebody, right? Like so maybe Kobe, Io, Caruso, Matt Thomas, maybe they get a little bit more space and maybe those shots do start to fall, which the last, I guess, full kind of offensive possession that they had, because the very last one was just a scramble, it was just a mess of a play. But when they were down by 2, and it was the play when DeRozan jacked that 3 up when he fumbled the ball, I liked how they had the switch with Vooch on Holiday. And they still had 8 seconds left, right? Like, I figured, okay, he passed it out. He can repost. You could still get 2 there, right? Like, because I felt like all DeRozan had to do was get it back, but he rushed that three after he fumbled it. Plus, I didn't like it with Giannis on him and Giannis being as long as he is and having long arms. It was going to be a tough shot. I figured, like, at the very least, if you repost Vooch, let him back him deeper down into the paint. Because Jeff Van Gundy would say, "Oh, you're not going to back down Drew Holiday," when he clearly backed him down to the point that he got, because he started off like a little bit past the free throw line, like he was, and he backed him down a little bit deeper into the paint. He could have gotten to there, even if he would have reposted, turned, and shot over him. I would have accepted that shot. So I think that was kind of the turning point. But like I said, like putting them in positions like that where Vooch is a threat, like in that spot, Vooch was a threat. It was forcing Giannis to have to lean a little bit towards Vooch to possibly come with a double team. Then that shot for DeRozan, he has a little bit more space, and then maybe he knocks it down. Maybe this is a different conversation. But I agree with you. I liked what I saw out of Vooch this game.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: you did make a key point earlier when you said, Zach didn't play, Derrick Jones didn't play. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Greg, if we're healthy, we could beat this Milwaukee team. And a lot of Bulls fans at home might be saying, "K-Dub, you tripping, man? It's just a regular season game." No, this game was like a playoff field type game. They was going at each other, man. This was tight.
Grinded out game.
Defense was being played really hard. They were switching. Both teams were switching and catching guys on the pick and rolls. The defenders were there. This was like a coach versus coach duel in this game. And I think if we had Zach, we had that extra guy to make shots, we would have won this game. It's like their whole entire issue with Milwaukee, their whole entire plan. Let's double DeMar. Let's double DeMar. And they kept doubling him at the top of the key with Portis and who else was guarding him at the top of the key?
Wesley Matthews.
Portis and Wesley Matthews was taking turns double teaming him and getting the ball out of his hands, and he fumbled it a couple times, as you said. But if you got Zach on the other side, now teams got to play you even. They got to play you on both sides of the floor. So you put Zach on one side, and you put DeMar on one side, and you got Vooch in the post. Now you got a triple threat. Yeah. I really think we can beat this team in a series. And I don't feel like they have a real big man. Portis was kind of giving Vooch bricks because he was shooting most of the time instead of taking it to the hole. And when he did take it to the hole, Portis was scoring. But Portis is more of a perimeter type stretch forward.
Yeah. So I guess the thing is, at least right now, with Brook Lopez out, you're right. They don't have a true traditional big, which plays into the Bulls' hands.
I think about Brook Lopez.
Yeah, he's been out all season with, I think it might have been back surgery. I don't remember exactly what it was. But, to your point too, even beyond Zach, right? Like we didn't have Javonte and we didn't have Derrick Jones, right? And the reason I bring them up is because we had Tyler Cook on Giannis, and then Vucevic switched on Giannis a few times. But just imagine, like you said, like they're throwing double teams at DeMar. Think of the bodies we could switch on Giannis too. You put DJ on Giannis, right? Like you put Javonte on Giannis, right? Like it just like those type of guys with those type of energy, along even if you're playing Tyler Cook on him, who did really well on him, especially for his first start, and like you got to come into a primetime game and guard Giannis. Right, like that's a big ask, and it wasn't like he backed down from the challenge at all. So I think that having those guys to throw at Giannis, having those bodies to throw at Giannis, like the Bucks did to DeMar, right? Like you got Wesley Matthews, they had Middleton they could throw at him, they had Holiday they could throw at him, right? Like that wears you down where you got 3-4 different guys that you're throwing on me. And now, they could just rotate that out. Being able to do that with Giannis, I think that would make a big difference. And, I mentioned this, I kept mentioning this earlier in the podcast, right? Like, I want to see how they look against the Bucks, right? Like, I'm okay with the loss, right? Like, it's how you lose. Now, if this is a case where they got blown out 60-94, okay, that's a problem. But the fact that it is 90-94 without Lonzo, without Zach, without basically being at full strength.
And we didn't shoot the way we supposed to, because I feel like if we really hit them shots, them open shots, this was a loss for the Bucks.
Yeah,
Kobe don't shoot 0 for 9 all the time. Kobe don't shoot 0 for 9 all the time. He's not going to do that a lot.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, right? Like if we look at it, the things that happen in this game, are not the norm, right? Like, so if we're looking at it, if we're at full strength, if presumably we're going to be shooting better. I'm pretty sure just with Zach alone, we're going to shoot higher than 18% from the three, right? Like so, with those things and adding that to it, right? Like I'm confident we can beat the Bucks, right? Like I said, I want to see how they look against these top teams, against Miami, against the Nets, against the Bucks, right? And having seen how they look against them, yes, I'm confident that the Bulls can beat them, right? Like we go deep into the series with them. I can see it going seven, and I can see the Bulls beating them, right? Like I can see that happening.
I don't know about
I
Miami though, Greg. I don't know about Miami. Miami is they convincingly beat us. I think we had guys out against them, but the times that they beat us, they really beat us bad, yo. So the Bulls haven't proven to me that they can beat the Heat. But every other team, they've proven they can beat. If the Bulls played this Bucks team in a series, it would be a fun series, Greg. It would be a fun defensive series. It would take us back to how the 90s basketballs used to be played because both of these teams play really solid defense. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. They rotations were good. Like they, yeah. I mean, this is '90s basketball, right? Like under
Mm-hmm.
100 points,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's a lot harder to do in this era of basketball than
Mm-hmm.
you think. So yeah, there was a very. I mean, just looking at the numbers, right? The Bulls shot 36% from the field. Milwaukee shot 38. Milwaukee didn't shoot better from three. They shot 19% from the field, while we shot 18. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so, it's not like you can sit up there and say just Milwaukee just came in and did whatever they want. Like no, they struggled too. Like this was a full grinded out game, and it's not like the Bulls were ever out of it at any point, right? Like so, for instance, when I went to the Memphis game, right? Like I could tell from jump that the Bulls were out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This game was completely different. Like there was never really a point where it was like just Milwaukee is straight in control, regardless of what the score said. Right? Like you could tell, like, oh, okay, like man, this is over, even if it is a 2-point game, right? Like it doesn't seem like this game was like, okay, no, the Bulls could win. It's like, okay, maybe Milwaukee will win. And then it's okay, the Bulls going back and forth. So with that said, you know, at full strength, I feel like yes, the Bulls could beat Milwaukee. I think to me, I look at it like Milwaukee might have a problem because this is reminiscent to me. Like if they got into a series, it's reminiscent of what would happen if Milwaukee got into a series with the Heat and how that goes for them.
Yeah,
Right?
those versatile matchups really bother them when they go up against the Heat.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, one thing I realize about Milwaukee, if you're not knocking down shots, you're helping them out because they can't really guard teams that really knock down that shot.
Yeah.
And Miami is going to force you to guard that 3-point line. And they don't like that. And the last two playoffs that they played each other, I believe the second one, Miami was down some guys and
Yeah.
Milwaukee took advantage of them. But when they were at full strength, and this was in the bubble, right?
Yeah.
Miami beat them
Yeah.
pretty convincingly in that
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. But that's been Milwaukee's MO since Coach Bud got there.
Mm-hmm.
Like every year, it's been, well, how are you going to defend the three? And he's gone back to, well, analytics say blah 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 blah. But that's been their knock, that they don't really defend the three well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool, they could pack the paint base with, you have Brooke Lopez, you got Giannis, these, longer guys. But yeah, they don't defend the three well. So if the Bulls, and this is the thing, like the Bulls, I think this game proves that the Bulls don't necessarily even have to be clicking on all cylinders, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if they hit half of the shots, right? Like if Kobe hits 2 3-pointers, we win the game, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not even something that like you can. I think this shows that their game plan worked. At its core, the game plan worked. You don't really have to change much what you're doing when you're going in to play Milwaukee, right? Like it is really at this point, like based on this game, it's really just a matter of being able to hit your shots and execute, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
cleaning up some of the, like the, Drew Holiday getting the offensive rebound off the free throw, right? Like cleaning up some of the dumb turnovers, right? So it's like little things like that you can clean up that you win the game, and then that gives you the confidence going forward because if we're listening to the talking heads on ESPN and national media, the Bulls, they're still giving the Bulls like this underdog, like they shouldn't be here, imposter type of syndrome.
Well, let
And
me tell you something, man. I done cut ESPN announcers and analysts out of my mind as far as their predictions. They've already been wrong about the Bulls, and I feel like at this point they're witch hunting to try to validate their stupid opinions that they made at the beginning of the year. They're the best team in the East. You can say what you want. They're losing to good teams. Oh, they got blown out on TV. Okay, it was the Warriors and the Nets. We're losing to good teams. Would I think that we're 30 points worse than those two teams? No. But it's still good teams will lose to nonetheless. And it's a regular season game. And we are leading the East. You were wrong. And I feel like they're trying to find reasons to witch hunt. But to be honest with you, man, Stephen A said we was going to get blown out in this game. And I immediately hit him up on Twitter and told him, bro, that ain't going to happen. You don't realize how much we invade Milwaukee with Bulls fans, and we don't like the Bucks. We're not letting them blow us out. So you picked the wrong team, buddy. They wasn't blowing us out. I didn't know if we was gonna win or not, but I knew they wasn't blowing us out.
But I mean, if we're being honest, Stephen A. don't watch the Bulls, right? Like if we're being completely honest, he don't watch the Bulls, right? And to your point,
he's a Knicks fan. His team ain't even doing nothing this year, so he shouldn't even be talking about basketball.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point, Bulls fans travel. Like when I went to Memphis, it was probably about 50-50, right? Mm-hmm. Like in Memphis, probably about 50-50.
Yeah, so, travel impacts.
Yeah, we travel, like we show up. So
this has been historic, like something that has happened repeatedly over time, where they invade the Milwaukee Bucks arena, and you hear boos for the Bucks in their own arena. This has happened like for years, and
that's our backyard. That's nothing for us to make that trip to Milwaukee.
Right close to us, man. I went to a Milwaukee game when I was in Chicago. I went to a string of Bulls games. This was back in I think 2014, and we played Orlando one night, and that was a home game. And then we were on to Milwaukee, and I traveled to that game in Milwaukee, and that was the night I met Nick Friedel outside the arena, and threatened him and said he need to stop talking bad about Derrick Rose while he was on his way to a restaurant to get a steak. But that night, I almost got into a spat with a Milwaukee Bucks fan, man. It gets real in that Milwaukee arena with Bulls and Bucks fans, man.
Yeah. I mean, you know it is. We basically next door neighbors, right? Like we, being passionate about the Bulls and them being passionate about the Bucks, is nothing. It's never. I mean, I want to say it's like big brother, little brother type of thing, right? Like we're always going to have that type of rivalry, just being so close. But
I could tell you this though, watching this game, I don't mean to cut you off, but watching this game, right? One thing that comes to my mind is that Billy, I don't know what he's doing in practice, but he has to kind of like have a set of plays that's going to guarantee us points. Because I see like when the game gets tight and teams pressure us and double us and corner us and zone us up, we don't know how to get a bucket. And we panic a lot and just turn the ball over or do something stupid or miss a shot badly. He has to have a set of plays that we know that we can get a score or we're going to get a good look, because it just looked like from right here, from how I'm watching it sometimes, it looked like it's just park basketball as far as the offensive end. It's like they're just out there shooting and whoever's open is going to take a shot or isolate. No, you got to draw up plays, man, and run a couple guys through some picks or whatever and find an open guy like Matt Thomas or Kobe White. You got to get creative on offense, and I don't feel like he's doing that. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but he has to.
I hear you.
Like in that Celtics game, I felt like that game could have been won if he would have ran DeRozan through as a decoy through a couple picks, and he could have got Kobe White or Matt Thomas open.
Yeah, but I mean, in this game, Matt Thomas wasn't even in the game.
No, he hit a couple shots. He was in the game.
No. I mean, in the fourth, like when they could have used the three, like deep in the fourth, like 2 minutes, and I mean, really longer than I think from like the 6 minute mark on, Matt Thomas wasn't in the game. Now it could have been, matchup wise, but I was looking at it like the closer the clock got to expiring, and it's like, okay, we're down by 7. We could really use a 3. The only guy who's actually hitting threes would be nice to have in the game. But never put him in the game. But I think to your point, right? Like, I do think that and watching it on TV and watching live, I noticed a couple things. I noticed one that I think the offense does need to have a little bit, like you said, like some play, so a little bit more of a flow to it. Because to me, what it looks like especially in the closing moments, it's that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, get a ball to Will, like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like that's what it looks like. Like yes, especially I think especially when you do have when you get Zach back and have DeRozan as well. You can use one as a decoy, but don't just have it where okay, DeRozan's got the ball, or Zach got the ball, and everybody's standing around watching. Like move, set some down screens, set some back screens, do something. Don't just stand there and just wait where they're dribbling down the clock, do pick and roll at the top of the key, and then let them hoist up a jumper or whatever. Like that's predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is easy to defend. Like I can see that coming a mile away, right? Like have somebody else moving along the baseline, do something so you can get an easy bucket, right? Like you said, if it is getting the ball to Kobe, right? Like if it is getting the ball to Matt Thomas, nobody's expecting Matt Thomas to take a shot. Like when the Bulls won a championship, nobody's expecting John Paxson to take a shot. Nobody's expecting Steve Kerr to take a shot, right? Like that comes as a surprise and it works, right? Like so if we're looking at it, like and I'm not sitting up here trying to say, like you said, Billy's a bad coach. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think the offense does need to have a little bit more movement to it and be a little bit less dependent upon DeRozan and Zach to have to create, right?
Yeah.
Because that creates pressure on them, and also it can wear them down if every time down the floor it's like, okay, you have to score. Okay, now I have to score. Okay, one of us have to score, otherwise we're not scoring, type of thing, right? Like because in transition, like you see Io's running, Kobe's running, Lonzo's running, then it's a lot free flowing in transition. But when we have to do half court, it's all right. DeRozan's going to get the ball. He's probably going to get a mid range shot. He might, back down and get a fadeaway or something like that. So yeah, like do something, have some movement, set some down screens. Because when Caruso's in the game, he's the one setting the pick, setting screens, setting people up to do things like that. But I think it shouldn't have to be dependent on Caruso to have to get everybody else to move. You should have a set of plays that is based on movement, is based on people, getting to spots and getting open and constantly moving to free up thing. Because the thing is, the ball moves a lot faster than the defense does.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you can get a shot if you are moving, right? Like you throw the ball to the spot where I know he's going to be, boom, I can get a layup, right? Like, or I can get a lob or something like that. But you're not going to get those if everybody's standing around watching.
Well, the two most alarming stats to me is the Bulls shot 7 for 38 from three, and they got outscored in the paint 42-20. They gotta attack the rim more, man. They gotta attack the rim more. Stop just relying on jump shots. I look at jump shots as like playing the lottery or doing a scratch off. It's not a guarantee you're gonna hit those shots. And you guys were wide open and you still kept shooting them, even though you were missing. And then another thing is that the Bulls in the last two games are averaging 10 turnovers a game. They got to keep their turnovers down, man. And they're the self-inflicted turnovers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like one, it was a fast break, and then Io just turned it over. And then another one, he threw the ball too hard and threw it too far past his teammate, and it went all the way out of bounds on the other end. I'm like, dude, like, why are you putting so much mustard on your passes? Just make a simple pass and just throw it right to the guy, and he got an easy layup. Like, we missed a lot of opportunities in this game. But like you said, it's like you can be mad at this and you can be happy because all that we did wrong, shooting 18% from three. And from the field, we shot 36%. And we still only lost by 4. And we didn't have all of our guys. It's like you put us against this Bucks team, and they had all their people tonight, didn't they? They had the entire roster tonight, didn't they, Greg?
Other than Brook Lopez, yeah, they were at full strength for the most
He
part.
ain't gonna make that big of a difference. I think we could beat this team in the series, man. And it's in Milwaukee, a hostile environment. Our guys are kind of shaking up. They're not all the way together. They're still trying to figure things out. And that's my thing. A Bulls team that's still trying to figure things out is still the best team in the East. So when we get everything clicking and we get completely healthy, what do you think is going to happen? The NBA and these analysts, they get their free shots right now because we're injured and they get to make fun of us because we're getting blown out. But I feel like when we get healthy, it's going to be a different story, Greg.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a lot of laughing. I think it's going to be a lot of, oh, we said the Bulls were going to be a good team, and just like they were doing when we was on our winning streak, and we claimed this. And listen, man, I'm not listening to none of these media people. The Bulls got to keep it in the locker room, and they got to believe in themselves. A lot of these games they lost this year, Greg, except for the blowouts, they beat themselves in these games.
Yeah.
The Boston game. I'm trying to think of some other games where they beat themselves. Um, what other games, Greg, that they beat themselves? There were some other games where we lost where I felt like we shouldn't have lost. The Houston Rockets game.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Houston. Yeah.
It's a lot of games that we lost that I'm like, yo, we shouldn't have lost that game, and I could take it back. You know what I mean? But a tight race and 12-10 on the road for the Bulls. I think that's horrible. We got to do better on the road.
Yeah. Right now we're a half game back of Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
for first place in the East.
Yeah, but Brooklyn's gonna fall, man. They got Kevin Durant out 6 weeks with a knee injury, MCL
Yeah.
tear. And speaking of MCL tears, when we come back, we're gonna dive right into Lonzo Ball, who has the same injury and out for the same time frame. Right after these messages. You want the most uncensored and unbiased podcast? The Bulls Guys Podcast, as only Kenyatta Wright and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, YouTube, and all social media platforms. You can use your support. The Bulls Guys Podcast, formerly known as the Talking Bulls Podcast. The most up-to-date Bulls news, rants, and in-your-face, blunt opinions. Follow us on YouTube, Anchor, and all social media platforms. All right, back on the Bulls Guys Podcast. So, Greg, we received some bad news about 2 days ago. Lonzo Ball is injured, has a torn MCL, and he has elected to have surgery. And he will be out 6 to 8 weeks, which will put us at an April return date timeline, which is when the playoffs will be about to start. So basically, the Bulls lost Lonzo for the year, you might as well say. And very disappointing news to Alonzo Ball that's been having a really, really solid season for the Bulls ever since coming over from New Orleans. A player that improved his jump shot, a player that came over and was one of those floor generals that you like to have. I feel like he's underutilized. I feel like Billy Donovan should keep him on the ball a lot more, but nonetheless, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. And I feel like it's a tough blow for the team, but then again, it can open up opportunities for Ayo to start more and get some more experience under his belt. But with the way that Ayo played tonight, I'm not down in the rookie. I love Ayo. I think he's one of our promising pieces for the future. But Ayo is the way he played tonight. He showed that he's like a little bit jittery at times, and I feel like we really need Lonzo to start. And I feel like he's a different player than Ayo. Ayo's gonna get you numbers and flashes, but I don't feel like consistently moving forward that we can rely on Ayo at point guard. We might have to go with Caruso a lot more at point guard and put Ayo at the shooting guard most nights, Greg.
Yeah, I think what it is because he's played so well, I think better than we've expected. I think we've forgotten that he is a rookie, right? Like he's going to be inconsistent as he figures the league out, right? Like, I mean, if we're being honest, some teams are better than others, so some games are going to be easier than others, right? And I think it's kind of showing for him, right? Like he is trying to get his footing, and I think for the most part, I think he's played better than he's played worse, right? Like, um, but I think what has kind of been underrated about Io has been his defense. Like his defensive assignments that he's taken have been nothing to see. He's been guarding the James Hardens. He's been guarding Chris Middleton. He's been guarding John Morant, right? Like even looking at those, right? Like that takes a lot of energy to do on the defensive end and then turn around and still have some of the games that he's, scoring that he's doing, right? Like against Boston, he scored 21. Memphis, he scored 15 in a loss. Cleveland, he scored 18, right? Like this game, all right, he didn't do all that well, right? But I do think, it's something to be said because, offensively, okay, listen, if you can score, you can score. You can figure it out, right? Like, but defensively, that's something different. He's been taking on that talent. So, that's something that I'm excited about for him. Taking those, taking on your team's or one of your team's best perimeter players and playing solid defense on them.
Mm-hmm. But back to Lonzo Ball, what's
Uh,
your opinion of your thoughts on losing him
So
until April?
yeah, so I think that's going to be a tough loss. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like it does open up time for Io, it does open up time for Kobe and things like that. But Lonzo, like you said, he's been playing very well. He's been knocking down threes. He's been setting people up. And I think as the season had progressed, you see he was getting more comfortable with his teammates and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be a tough loss. But you know, I'm hoping that I know the timetable will, like you said, put him back around the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we can get him back a little bit earlier, right before the playoffs, just to kind of get back in the game shape, in a sense, get back in the game flow. Because in the playoffs, right, like I would love to go in at full strength,
Mm-hmm.
um, with everybody, right? So I'm kind of like, I'm glad in a sense that he was like, okay, let me go ahead and get this surgery now, so I don't have to miss the playoffs. Because I'd rather have Lonzo being at full strength than Lonzo having a nagging injury and going in there 75% or 60% or whatever, right? Because then we're gonna be looking at him like, man, what's going on? And it's like, okay, if you knew you could have had, something done about this and been back for the playoffs, why didn't you? So I'm glad, that he went ahead and did that. And I think, we'll be able to be okay without him for the rest of the regular season. Right. Like like I said, like I'm more focused on making a run for the chip, right? Like that's what my goal is. So if we're looking at it like that, we need to be at full strength for the playoffs. So anything that we got to get out the way, injuries, health and safety protocols, cool. Let's get that done. Let's get that out the way, and now focus on making a run for the championship. I think with Lonzo there, their mindset has been to come in and be scorers and attack and be aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to come in and you have to try to set guys up. And I think Caruso is going to be big in that too, right? Like I think we're going to see Caruso getting a lot more time at the floor, probably playing the point more so and having Io and Kobe play off the ball more. I think that's something that you'll probably see more coming up. So yeah, you're gonna have to step up, and obviously, we talked about they have to shoot better, right? Like that is what it is. They just got to shoot better. But I do think taking over that role of like Io's gonna have to step up and take over the role of guarding the best perimeter player. Like I said, with Lonzo out, that was kind of Lonzo's task, right?
I'm gonna tell you right what I'm noticing right now as you're talking, and we're talking about Lonzo Ball's injury.
Mm-hmm.
If Billy Donovan don't start playing all of his people, if they're able to play and they're cleared to play and they got on a uniform, he need to start playing everybody. He went with an 8-man rotation tonight. Why you didn't play Malcolm Hill? Malcolm Hill is a nice piece, man. I like him. He could have did some positive things in this Bucks game. You got to use your entire roster, bro. You got to use your entire roster. You have to use everybody. You can't go with an 8-man rotation with all these guys out. You're gonna force somebody else to get injured.
Yeah, man. I think it's the Tibbs way of thinking, right? Like that's kind of how everybody end up getting run down, right? Like I do think that he might have to dig deeper into the roster, right? Like that's
But here's my question, Greg. What's the reason why you're not using your players? Malcolm Hill has been in a game for us, multiple games, and he showed us and demonstrated to me, you, Greg, and all of the other Bulls fans around the world that he can get in these games and do something positive. He can get charges. He can hit an open three. He can play defense. What
yeah,
reason would you have not to use him?
played him for 2 minutes. Alfonso McKinney didn't play at all.
That's what I'm saying. And like with a short roster that we have, why are you not using these guys, man? Like, listen, you got to use all your guys. An 8-man rotation is not going to cut it. That's going to cause somebody to get injured. Now, if we had a back-to-back, he definitely got to rest some of the guys that played today.
Yeah.
Because you're going to play them again in the back to be going to use the same 8-man rotation. You can't shorten your rotation. Now, if it's guys that's getting in the game and they messing us up and they not doing what they're supposed to do, then I understand. But Malcolm Thomas has showed me positive signs, Greg. He should be in the game.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think Malcolm Hill should he should have got some more time.
Malcolm Hill. I'm sorry, not Malcolm Thomas.
Alfonso McKinney should have got some time. I think Matt Thomas should have been in there at the end of the game. But I mean, they could go back, take a look at it, and reevaluate in the next game, get it together, and give these guys a little bit more time and work that rotation a little bit better. I'm sure if you would have asked him, he probably would have said like, "Yeah, I probably should have went a little bit deeper into the bench."
Well, on another note, man, let's switch topics real quick. This game proved to me, Greg, that our beloved general manager, our beloved vice president, I'm sorry, has to make a move for, if not one significant big man that can block shots and rebound, multiple. Now, in this game tonight, I saw from Milwaukee that the only way that they felt like they can guaranteed score on us was to expose our size. Mm-hmm. And a lot of teams are doing this because they feel like they know that we're small. And if we're going to like shut them down on perimeter, they're just going to back us down low and use their size against us. And this is a strategy that a lot of teams have been using all season. So here we are with the trade deadline. You don't have to wait till the trade deadline to make a move.
Correct.
And I always never understood why teams wait until exactly the deadline to start making trades. No, that's stupid because every single player that you really, really want is going to be gone by the deadline. So you're supposed to be trying to get, and that actually puts more pressure on you to make a move because if you don't make a move, you don't get nothing. So it kind of puts more pressure on you the closer you get to the deadline. You don't have to wait. We need a big man. It's clear. What are you waiting on? Make a move and go get a big man. Go to the buyout market, go to G League, wherever you got to go. We need size. It's clearly evident.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening with the GMs is that they are sitting up there basically playing chicken with each other. Like in a case of like a Ben Simmons, right? Everybody's waiting for Philly to blink. Philly's waiting for somebody else to be like, okay, we'll cave and give you what you want. I think that's what ends up happening the closer we get to the trade deadline with a lot of these GMs, just thinking like, okay, I'm waiting for somebody to lower their asking price, and the other person's like, I know you want my player, so I'm gonna wait for you to give me what I want. I think that's what it, and then as the time goes down, it's like, oh, you got 24 hours, and they're like, okay, well, ends up, let's make a deal, right? Like, but to your point, yeah, I think that you should make a move before the trade deadline, like when you're able to, right? Like if you feel like you are able to sit up there and you've had enough time to evaluate your team and like not making a trade for the sake of making a trade, right? But you see, like you said, the Bulls are getting exposed because of their size, right? Like that's the thing that teams are looking at. Like, okay, well, if they are playing, basically somebody who plays the three and putting them at power forward, boom, we just go get big with them, right? So if you're looking at that, yeah, I do think a trade would be something that the Bulls should look into. And I've been doing a little bit of playing around on ESPN's trade machine.
Okay, so let's go to the Greg's trade machine segment of the show.
So this first trade is a straight up 1-for-1 swap. The Bulls will be trading away Coby White to the Orlando Magic in exchange for Mo Bamba.
Yeah, I like that. I like that trade.
So
Coby White straight up for Mo Bamba?
Yep.
I like that trade.
So the trade tracker says that with that trade, I have increased the Bulls' projected wins by 5 games.
Well, Mo Bamba is, and I'm hearing he hitting threes now too.
Yeah, he went 7 for 8 the other night.
And he's not a 3-point shooter. I know that much about him. I haven't watched much of Mo Bamba because I don't watch a lot of Orlando games. I'm sorry, they suck. But I do know he's not a typical 3-point shooter. I do know that about his skill set.
Yeah.
And for him to do that, if we could get something like that from him plus the defense, that's just an added incentive. of why I think we should get him. But the Bulls just need to get a big man. From what I've seen today, they're still after Jeremy Grant, and the Pistons done put their foot down and said, they're waiting and maintaining the stance until the Bulls want to give up Patrick Williams. And the Bulls have been insistent on not adding Coby White since Lonzo got hurt. They don't want to give up Coby White no more. The Bulls. This is the things I've been reading through Casey Johnson's Twitter posts and most of these sources. And now Detroit has mainly focused in this trade scenario. Detroit has focused most of their attention on Patrick Williams, and the Bulls don't want to add Patrick to the deal. So I guess that singles out Jeremy Grant. But I don't see how the Bulls can sign Jeremy Grant to a $112 million extension and re-sign Zach LaVine. Like, suppose we were in that position. Now, if you just want to get Jeremy Grant for this year and go all in for a title and then let him go, I understand. But do you think they would have enough money to sign both of them, re-sign both of them, Greg?
Not unless you convince both of them to take a pay cut.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't. And Zach is going to try to get $200 million. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
max.
And I think Zach deserves every penny.
What's the max? It's about $200 million, right?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, Zach would deserve every penny of that. And I listened to his comments earlier in the year when they were doing the Olympics. He did say that he would entertain, I guess, a quote unquote home team discount or whatever, right? But like realistically, like honestly, you gotta pay that man his money, right? Like I think he's proven, for what he's proven, his loyalty. He's proven that he deserves it. Like he's been the guy on the team. He's improved his play since you got him in that trade, right? Like he's steadily improved. He's if I'm just being broad, right? Like he's a top 20 player in the league, right? Like you're not just gonna go somewhere else and just find a Zach, right? Like this is not gonna happen. So you gotta pay that man his money, like you said.
And I'm gonna tell you the trickery that the media is trying to do, because I'm gonna tell you what I think the media wants. They want to try to make a diversion and try to make a problem between Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan by saying this is DeRozan's team. You don't give a damn about the Bulls. So don't try to act like you care that this is DeMar's team and you want him to make the All-Star. You don't give a damn about anybody connected to our team. When I say they, I'm referring this comment to the people of the media because they really hate the Bulls. I don't care what nobody say. They could call me a conspiracy theorist. The media don't like us. And I think they want Zach LaVine to leave and go help out Mr. LeBron James in La La Land.
I think they try to get Zach to the Knicks.
Nah, ain't nobody trying to get nobody to go to the Knicks, man. The Knicks are done.
Stephen A. Smith does.
He's the only person I see that wants somebody to go to the Knicks. Nobody else I see wants nobody to go to the Knicks.
Are you ready for the second trade, the Vooch involved trade?
All
right. So Vooch to the Indiana Pacers for Miles Turner and Torrey Craig.
Torrey Craig?
Yep.
All right. Who's Torrey Craig?
Torrey Craig played small forward, but in that Suns run to the finals last year, he also played power forward.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Torrey Craig, 6'7" for Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a bull, yo. He's a bull. The bull in the China shop.
Yep.
I think I would like that trade.
So ESPN says that I have increased the team's projected wins by 1 with that trade.
He's averaging 3.7 rebounds on the season and 5.8 points for Torrey Craig. Ain't he the guy that Westbrook busted open his face the other night?
I think so.
Hitting him right in the face, man, and busted open. Speaking of the Lakers, man, it's just imploding over there. Now I'm hearing that they're throwing Westbrook under the bus. They want to trade him. LeBron wants him off the team. It's just crazy over there, man. I'm just glad that it's not us. And people can say whatever they want about the Bulls, but at least we're not the Lakers, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, with that, I mean, that's LeBron's problem. He created that problem. Russ has been who Russ has been forever, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Russ plays how he plays. Russ has never been a shooter like that. So it's thing like that's never been him. So to come up there and just expect just because he's playing with a LeBron, he's going to magically become this shooter and not become the turnover machine that he is just it's just crazy to me at least. And like throwing Russ under the bus doesn't really make sense to me because all right, I get it. Russ puts up like 10 turnovers a game or whatever, right? Like he could probably average a quadruple double with turnovers and points, rebounds, and assists, right? Like he probably could. But I mean at the same time, like you wanted him there, right? Like that was your thing. You could have had DeRozan, you could have had Buddy Hield. That's a LeBron problem. And to be honest, ain't nobody taking Russ's contract, so you stuck with him. So
Couple scores around the league, Bulls fans. Right now, the Houston Rockets are leading the Golden State Warriors in the third quarter with 5:15 in the third quarter. The Oklahoma City Thunder lost to the Charlotte Hornets 121-98. The Lakers defeated the Orlando Magic 116-105. And in Philly, the Clippers edged the Sixers 102-101. And in a game that was important to the Bulls that we pointed out earlier, the Atlanta Hawks defeated the Miami Heat 110-108. The Portland Trail Blazers edged the Boston Celtics 109-105. That's looked like that was a good game, man. I might go back and watch that.
yep.
Toronto defeated Washington 109-105. Toronto's been playing a little harder, but I don't know, man. They still suck. Sorry.
They still got Milwaukee's number though.
117-102. Brooklyn over the San Antonio Spurs. And a final in Memphis. The Memphis Grizzlies defeated the Denver Nuggets 122-118. Man, Memphis is one of the surprising teams in the West. Right?
Yeah, yeah, man. They they played pretty well. They were pretty dominant against the Bulls. I can't say this though. I didn't as much love as Ja Morant has been getting about being in the MVP talks and things like that. I think he should like based on his play. But man, when he played against the Bulls, he played like a straight up jerk. Like he just was not interested in being there. Like you know how you playing against your little brother and you can do anything you want whenever you want. Like that was his attitude the entire game. Like basically, like when he did that 360 layup, that I think that was him proving a point that yeah, I could have done this at any point in the game, and still got 25 basically in his sleep. But I mean, I didn't appreciate it as a Bulls fan just watching him just being lackadaisical out there. But other than that, that man could ball.
well, to
I'm not
be
taking that away from him.
well, to be honest with you, Greg, they beat us with their bench, man. So Ja didn't really have to do much, and that's what pissed me off most about that game. They were beating us with their second string guys. And it's
Oh,
like that's how embarrassing like some of the losses for the Bulls have been. The Bulls gonna have to go on like a streak, man, again, man. We only won one game and it's against Cleveland in our last what 6 games? Only won one out of 6 and lost 5. It's like, man, come on. We gotta get it going. I still feel like we have enough to at least compete and win games, put ourselves in position to win. Getting Caruso and Cook back, you get your 2 hustlers back. This was a tough loss tonight. I'm not going to lie to you. I really had this game circled on my calendar, and I felt like it was a game that would tell a lot about us as a team, especially since we lost 2 TV games and then we lose another TV game. Are we going to win a TV game? Well, the next time we play on TV against a contender, because I'm getting a little sick of us losing in front of the world and to these jerk ESPN analysts that enjoy watching us get beat. When are we going to win a TV game?
I don't know. And even I guess this is the thing, right? Like even if we do, are we going to receive the credit that we deserve for winning the TV game? right? Like, or are they gonna try to make it about, oh well, let's see, they play Phoenix on NBA TV, and then they play Charlotte on ESPN February 9th, right? So let's say we go in and we just beat the brakes off of Charlotte. Will the narrative be the Bulls play well, or will they make it, oh, well, Charlotte didn't do this, and LaMelo didn't do this, and all of that? Which seems like it's the more likely scenario, that they would just point out what Charlotte didn't do rather than giving the Bulls the credit for winning.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I see a lot of that going on because if the Bulls would have won against Brooklyn and they would have won against the Warriors and they would have won against Milwaukee, I could see the narratives of they would have won against Memphis because that was considered a national game too. That was on TNT. If they would have won, they probably would say, "Oh well, it's just the regular season," and But when we lose, they heighten it and put it all over Sports Center and make it like we had all our guys and we were completely healthy when we lost. You could feel the hate in the air for the Bulls, man. You really can. Um, the announcer, like tonight, you could hear the enjoyment in his voice when he said, "Oh, DeMar DeRozan finally misses a free throw." Like, it made you that happy to realize the guy missed a free throw. Like, yo, man, it's just you just gotta look between the lines to see the hate, man. And then the officials, don't get me started with them. They call a lot of nonsense, man. They call a lot of nonsense out there. You can't penalize guys for fighting for a rebound and getting a rebound. We seen that they were a bigger team than us. We out rebounded them by committee. Then you start calling fouls against us. If we're undersized, we got to do whatever it takes to get the rebound, and we fight for it, and then you call foul on us. So dealing with their size, plus you calling bad fouls on us, I don't think a lot of teams could recover from that. And then Middleton, he fouls a lot of offensive fouls and pushing his elbow out and clearing space. And those clearing space is illegal the way he does it. And they don't call fouls on him. So it was a frustrating game, man, but we're gonna close out the show because we kind of covered all our topics. And we just want to go into the next game and to the next show because this was a frustrating loss, Greg, and I just want to get to the next game and forget about this one. We got them 3 more times this year.
Yep.
When we come back, we're going to close out the show right after this. How do you feel about the Bulls? How would you like to be on our show, the Bulls Guys Podcast, and give your thoughts on the team? Send us your emails at talkingbulls82@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to have you on. All right, we're back on the Bulls Guys Podcast. Greg, tell our audience where they can find you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, Bulls fans. It helps us to keep bringing you great content and builds the channel up.
And please share with whoever, our friends, family, strangers. Share so we can spread this word, spread the podcast, and get more listeners and subscribers like you guys who have been sticking with us and been faithful with us.
And I've been seeing a lot of views, but not a lot of people subscribing. Come on, we're not that bad, people. Show us some love and subscribe to the channel, man. Me and Greg, taking time out of our lives. Even though we love doing this, we're still taking time out of our lives to bring you, Bulls basketball through a podcast. And we just want to be respected for our efforts and what we're doing. So please show some support for us.
So you could follow me on Twitter at glove1989. And I'll be looking out. Next Bulls game we got Sunday at Orlando. Hopefully Zach will be back by then. They said he's supposed to be coming back sometime next week.
And I'm gonna give my opinion about Zach LaVine before we get out of here. I felt like he sat out for no reason. For the reports to come back and say his injury wasn't serious, there was no structural damage. I felt like it was no reason for him to sit out these games. And he just did it because he felt like sitting out. And we got to come to some kind of truce, and we got to come to some kind of understanding here as a team, as a unit, of this goal that we're chasing. And I want these players to start being locked in and start taking stuff more seriously. Start hitting your free throws in games that are tight, because in this game we missed a lot of free throws and we needed them in a tight game like this. Be sharper on your sets. The coach has to get these guys some plays so they could be sharper in games where they really need the points. I wouldn't have came in this game unprepared, Greg. This is a divisional game against a rival and against the NBA champions. So you definitely want to prove yourself and play your best against the NBA champs in a game like this. And I don't feel like the Bulls were well prepared for this game. And even though they play solid defense and move the ball, but they didn't execute on offense tonight. And typically, some nights we say they didn't execute on defense and just offense. Tonight, the defense was there, just not the offense.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, but I just think hopefully going forward, like we'll just be able to shoot better, right? Like if I would just chalk it up to an off shooting night, that's what I want to chalk it up to.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hopefully, like we've seen DeMar, staying after games, shooting free throws when he's had a bad free throw shoot game. Hopefully, Kobe's doing the same thing, Ayo's doing the same thing, and when they're jacking up threes to try to get their rhythm back and come back better prepared.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Bulls fans. See you in the next game against Orlando. We'll see you in the next podcast. Go Bulls. Good night, Chicago.
Go Bulls.